I'm going to ask Jones Calarico to join me here at the podium. He is the winner of our Outstanding Youth Contest. The Outstanding Youth Contest consists of several parts. One, an outstanding youth is identified as someone who has been involved in many activities, both in and out of school, leadership positions, both in and out of school, as well as just being an all-around fantastic young man, and I think we have one standing here before us. The other part of the contest is to appear before a panel of judges and be asked a series of interview questions. They're not given the questions ahead of time, and that they've got to just stand and deliver. And so I'm going to ask a couple of questions of Jones, and we'll see how he stands and delivers. Jones, I noticed that you're a senior at Garland High School. You'll be graduating this fall. And it says here that you're undecided. Has anything changed about that?
I am actually I'm joining with about half of us. I'm going to Texas A&M University.
What a surprise. Would you care to tell us some of the things, the leadership positions and the activities that you've been involved with, both in school and out of school, that led you to be a part of this contest?
Definitely. I'm actually an active leader at my church. I am the choir leader. I've led the choir for about 6 years, and I lead in worship and during Mass, during service. And I also do special events like weddings and baptisms. In school, I am currently one of the top in my class. I'm ranked 3 out of 600 people, and so I am generally a leader in class. I help students with tutoring if they need any help. I'm also a leader in terms of my orchestra. I am a violinist and I play in my Garland High School Orchestra, and I am second chair, which is second place, I guess. So I have to be help in sectionals and things like that, and help direct the orchestra. I don't really remember many other.
Well, that's pretty impressive. We'll just stop there. We know that you're going to a fine institution north of here at College Station now. What are your plans after graduation?
Well, in college, I plan to be an engineer. I haven't decided exactly which type of engineering, but I'm looking towards biomedical engineering. So as a biomedical engineer, I plan to help not only locally in the community, but globally, and help develop medical technologies that can help in surgeries and other medical practices so that I can help save more than just a couple of lives, maybe thousands, maybe millions.
All right, very good. Thank you. I was going to ask a question, and he may have already answered it, but he's welcome to add anything he would like to. What are your plans to give back to your community once you're out of school and doing your profession?
Definitely, I will join my local Thank you all for your service. This is really just a great group of people, a really great community service opportunity. In addition to Lions Club, I will reach out, try to find new opportunities similar to Lions Club. There's Kiwanis Club.
You're doing so well. You're doing so well.
What club? I don't know. And appreciating your 100 years of service, is it okay if I tell a short story?
You've got the microphone, and I'm going to take it away from you.
Thank you for your 100 years of service. It's really an honor to be in front of y'all. Once there was a man who fervently prayed for the awareness to succeed in life. One night, he had a dream of going into the forest and finding all the answers to his questions. So the next day, he set out into the woods in search of the truth. He wandered for several hours, looking for some sign that could provide answers. When the sun began to set and he could travel no further, he sat down on a rock in a clearing. While he was sitting, he noticed a sound coming from the bushes. To his surprise, he found a fox with no legs, but wondered how could such a disabled fox survive in such a cruel world. He had to find out, and so he waited. When the light began to fade, suddenly the man saw an extraordinary thing. From across the clearing, a lion came strolling out of the thicket with a generous serving of meat in his jaws and laid it before the fox. The man crept home and wondered what this sign meant. Ah, I understand, he thought. The key to success in life is to trust in God and believe that He will always give me everything I need. All I need to do is surrender. And so he sat idle at his house and did nothing. Days passed by, and weeks later, close to death from lack of food and water, the man in his bed had another dream. In it, a voice hissed, "You idiot! Be like the lion, not like the fox." Thank you, lions, for being a lion.
District 2, S3 in the Hutto Lions Club, Talia Ledbeck. And the winner of the diabetic essay contest, representing District 2E2, the Bridgeport Lions Club, Reginald Lane. All right. The runner-up for the Drug Awareness Speech Contest and the winner of a $1,000 scholarship is representing District 2E1 and the Graham Noon Lions Club, Jack Hayes. Of course, the judges had to do this to me. The winner of the Drug Awareness Speech Contest from District 2X1 and the Dallas Everest Lions Club is Safal Lamachani, and a $3,000 scholarship winner. The Outstanding Youth Contest, our runner-up, winner of a $1,000 scholarship, from 2E2 Bridgeport Lions Club, Reginald Lane. I think there's a conspiracy here to try to get me to mess up. The winner of a $3,000 scholarship in the Outstanding Youth Contest from District 2X1, the Irving DFW Indian Lions Club, is Jones Calarical. I'd like to call to the podium the winner of the Diabetic Essay Contest, Reginald Lane, who will read the essay, the winning essay. Reginald?
First of all, thank you all so much for doing these competitions. You know, it means a lot to us. I know everyone's sitting over there. Just what you guys do for the community, and especially what you guys have done for us and what you have taught us. So thank you. Diet, exercise, social media, the key to managing diabetes. Understanding proper nutrition and digestion holds the key to effectively managing diabetes. Diet, exercise, and insulin injections have long been the accepted treatment for this disease. But knowing what, when, or how to eat may be equally as important to a successful treatment program. With social media firmly entrenched in our modern culture, it is now possible to enlist our young people in the effort, with the goal being prevention through understanding. Generally speaking, diabetes occurs when there is an imbalance in the glucose level in the body. Over 29 million people in the United States right now live with diabetes. Almost 9 million of those people are unaware they have the disease. Yet, every one of us is impacted by this disease, which adds a $245 billion burden to our economy, $176 billion coming directly from medical costs. Diabetes has directly altered the lives of nearly everyone who knows a diabetic. But most people are still unsure how to effectively control or prevent the disease that burdens their families with such huge financial responsibilities. This fact alone suggests the need for better education regarding diabetes prevention and treatment. And diabetes is not selective to young or old, so early education can be all the more beneficial in the prevention of the disease. Insulin is produced by the pancreas and helps break down glucose in the body so the body's cells can use it. Type 1 diabetes occurs when there is too much glucose in the blood because the pancreas does not produce sufficient insulin. Type 2 diabetes occurs when the body cannot properly use the insulin produced by the pancreas, resulting in increased glucose levels in the bloodstream. Type 2 diabetes is more prevalent than type 1 diabetes and is usually caused by obesity and a lethargic lifestyle. The surplus of glucose in the bloodstream present in type 1 and type 2 diabetes causes chemical changes that can damage the vagus nerve, the longest cranial nerve in the body. This severs communication between the stomach and the brain, resulting in stomach and intestinal malfunctions. The muscles in the stomach and intestines stop working properly, so the movement of food through the digestive system is either slowed or completely stopped. This digestive issue is called gastroparesis. Some of the symptoms of gastroparesis include nausea, vomiting, abdominal bloating, lack of appetite, and heartburn. Gastroparesis makes diabetes worse because delayed digestion causes fluctuations in blood sugar levels. Also, when the food stays in the stomach for a long period of time, it can harden into solid masses called bazoars. Bazoars are especially dangerous because they can block the passage of food into the small intestine. Advances in technology, like artificial pancreases and insulin pumps, help combat gastroparesis by delivering insulin in surge doses during times of increased blood sugar levels. But these new technologies are extremely costly. While insulin doses are necessary for type 1 diabetics, utilizing proper nutritional techniques reduces the need for sporadic insulin doses necessary for gastroparesis flare-ups. The American Diabetes Association suggests that changing the way diabetics eat will help them control gastroparesis. The ADA says eating 6 small meals a day, compared to 3 large meals, will help digestion, as less food must be digested by the stomach and intestines at each meal, lessening blood sugar flare-ups. Also, they suggest eating slowly, sitting upright when eating, and taking a walk after meals. These tips help aid the digestive system so there is less buildup of undigested food in the body. Prediabetes and type 2 diabetes are primarily treated through nutrition and exercise, with prediabetes having a 25% increase in diagnoses in the last 6 years, it is even more important that proper nutrition is utilized by everyone to prevent type 2 diabetes. While the main goal of any person diagnosed with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes is to reduce their body weight by 7%, this process can be more complex and difficult than many people think. The cliche routine of eating healthier and exercising for 30 minutes 5 times a week is too broad. This allows too much room for interpretation, causing it to be ineffective. Specific dietary advice is beneficial for effective weight loss. In an article by Dennis Thompson, published by CBS News, Dennis talked about how adding protein-rich or probiotic-laden foods to a person's diet can help control blood sugar levels. Proteins and probiotics slow down the digestion of carbohydrates, which prevents blood sugar spikes. Hushuai Meng, a postdoctoral researcher at Tufts University Human Nutrition Research Center in Boston, commissioned a study on this topic by giving 4 test groups white bread to consume. However, each test group was given a different type of food to consume with the white bread. Group 1 was given rice cereal squares, carbohydrates. Group 2 was given protein, or tuna fish. And Group 3 was given unsalted butter, which is a fat. And Group 4 was given oat cereal, which is a fiber. Meng's research showed that Group 2, the protein, had a slower release of sugars into the bloodstream, a result that was not shared with any of the other test groups. Arjun Pandey, a student at the Waterloo Collegiate Institute at Ontario, Canada, did a similar experiment with probiotics and determined that probiotics reduce blood sugar levels as well. Contrary to the findings of these studies, people suffering from gastroparesis may be harmed by eating proteins or probiotics, which slow down digestion. People suffering from gastroparesis should eat foods that are easily emptied from the stomach. Foods low in fat and fiber are easier to digest. The severity of a person's gastroparesis usually determines the kind of foods one should eat. Common practices to manage gastroparesis include eating solid foods early in the day, not laying down 4 to 5 hours after eating, and taking multivitamins. Dr. Olaniyi Aruna of Lagos University Teaching Hospital gives advanced tips for managing prediabetes, type 1 diabetes, and type 2 diabetes in an article posted by The Nation. Dr. Aruna advises that diabetics, quote, learn about carbohydrate counting and portion sizes, end quote. Carbohydrates have the biggest impact on the blood sugar levels, and it is crucial to know the amount of carbohydrates in each meal. Dr. Aruna suggests meal planning for every meal, ensuring a proper carbohydrate count that is healthy, and for those living with diabetes, a carbohydrate count that lines up appropriately with insulin doses. The type of carbohydrates being consumed is also important. Fruits, vegetables, and whole grains are low in carbohydrates and help keep blood sugar levels stable. Sweetened beverages should also be avoided. Dr. Aruna advises that sweetened beverages, like soda or juice, should be avoided because they can raise the glucose levels within the body. Sweetened beverages should only be used if blood sugar levels are too low and the person needs to quickly raise his or her blood sugar. Dr. Sagun Fahua, a traditional medicine practitioner, believes in natural remedies for diabetes management. He says cinnamon, turmeric, fenugreek, ginger, and red chilies can offer improvement in blood sugar, reduction in inflammation, improvement in cholesterol and lipid status, and perhaps reduction in blood pressure. Each of these medical professionals' suggestions may seem simple, but following these suggestions is difficult. The majority of people are completely ignorant about the negative effects tasty foods can have on a person's body, and therefore continue dangerous or harmful eating habits. Sadly, The American population spends more money on fast food than groceries. Fast food diets increase the likelihood of insulin resistance. Diabetes is the 7th leading cause of death in the United States. And unless we change our eating habits, that number will only go up. With 1.4 million Americans being diagnosed with diabetes each year, the need for a health revolution is vital. Young people must become shining advocates for proper nutrition, or diabetes will run rampant. Using social media as our pulpits, the new generations can make a difference by supporting healthy habits. Being healthy must become cool again. And social media offers a huge audience. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest, the fastest growing social media program, should become full of healthy habits, nutritious and trendy recipes. Social media, driven by younger people, may well be the hope for a better future, where diabetes does not hold a deathly grip on 1 out of 11 Americans. Everyone living today was young once. While young, we began learning the eating habits we now employ. One thing is certain: today's young people will grow to be older people. But it's through social media, speaking in a language that our young people can understand, and we must alert our youth to the dangers of bad eating habits. As our young people grow to become the leaders of tomorrow, they will bring a new understanding to the fight against diabetes. Thank you.
I stumbled over a couple of words. He pronounced those researchers like a champ. I should have him up here. I'd like to call to the podium now Safal Lamachani, the winner of the Drug Awareness Speech Contest, to deliver his winning speech. Safal?
Hello. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you for those of you all that supported me throughout this whole journey to go to this state convention, namely the Dallas Everest Lions Club, District 2X1, my family, and my speech teachers, who I believe are here, Ms. Squibb and Ms. Massingale in the back right there. So thank you all for that. All right. Once upon a time, a young Cherokee boy was walking down a gravel path when he noticed a rattlesnake on the side. The rattlesnake approached him and asked him, "Little boy, I'm getting very old and would like to see the sunset one last time before I die. Could you please take me to the top of the mountain to see it?" The boy knew that if he picked up the rattlesnake would bite him. So he simply said, "Oh, no." The rattlesnake was intent on seeing the sunset though, so he asked the boy again, "Please just take me to the top. I promise you I won't bite." After hearing that, the boy reconsidered and then accepted. After hours and hours of hiking, they finally reached the top, where they saw the beautiful sunset, as it was something that the boy had never seen, and the rattlesnake would be seeing for the last time. After seeing the sunset, the rattlesnake asked the boy, "Now, little boy, will you please take me back down to my home?" The boy thought twice before accepting again, but realized that the rattlesnake had kept his promise, so he would continue yielding to the reptile's requests. Finally, upon reaching the rattlesnake's home, the boy slowly put the rattlesnake down, but the rattlesnake lashed out and bit him in his chest. The boy was shocked, and he said, "But you promised me you wouldn't bite. Now I'll surely die." The rattlesnake just looked up and grinned and said, "You knew what I was when you picked me up." As we address this year's Lions Club Drug Awareness speech topic, it is important that we heed the lesson that can be learned from the snake. Prescription drug abuse is a relatively new phenomenon, but has been the cause of more overdose deaths than hard drugs such as heroin or even cocaine since 2001. The issue of prescription drug abuse spans three categories: those being the drugs, the abusers, and finally, the necessary prevention. Let's look at our first area of analysis, the drugs. The three most commonly abused prescription drugs are Adderall, Vicodin, and Xanax. Each one of these drugs is a part of a different group of prescription drugs targeted at aiding certain patients. For example, Adderall is a stimulant that is used to improve focus in patients suffering from either attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Vicodin is an opioid that is used to relieve pain in patients. And finally, Xanax is a central nervous system depressant that is used to control chemical imbalances in a patient's brain that often lead to anxiety or panic. It is important now to ask, how are such strong drugs acquired by abusers in the first place? According to a survey conducted by the National Institute on Drug Abuse, more than half of the adolescents surveyed claimed to have received these drugs by way of either a friend or a relative. So that doesn't fully answer the question, and you're probably wondering, how did they get the drugs? The most common way reported was that they had been diagnosed with a disease or disorder in which that certain drug was necessary for treatment. Upon receiving the drug, instead of using the full dose for themselves, they would sell some to those who sought it for recreational use. This leads us to the real issue with prescription drug abuse, and that is the ease of access. In our story, the rattlesnake was alluring with his plea to see the sunset, and the kind-hearted boy could not resist but help the snake. In terms of drug abuse, the snake is the drug, sitting there, promising a good time or short-term relief. This ease of access opens up the gateway for some of the youngest, like our Cherokee boy, to heed the snake or take these drugs. According to another survey conducted in 2014 in the National Survey on Drug Use and Health, nearly 4.4% of users claim to have misused these prescription drugs in the last year for non-medical purposes. In another survey conducted by the National Institute on Drug Abuse, 1 in 13 high school seniors reported the non-medical use of Adderall, and 1 in 23 for the non-medical use of Vicodin. In our story, the little boy saw the rattlesnake as little to no harm. In the same way, youths in our society see these drugs as sort of a joke. They begin taking them for seemingly innocent purposes. We hear things like, I just need a little bit more focus so that I can finish my homework on time, so I'll just take some Adderall. Or, I just want to look cool in front of my friends. Give me a tab of Vicodin. Unfortunately, what these soon-to-be abusers don't see is that there are real consequences to their actions. In fact, the Drug Abuse Warning Network reports that in 2011 alone, more than 1.2 million emergency department visits could be traced back to prescription drug abuse. 1.2 million. It's at the point where we have to ask ourselves, what can we as a community do to help stop this issue of prescription drug abuse? Well, I have at least one of the answers to that. The bulk of the prevention doesn't really come from us good citizens, but rather it comes from good doctors. We know that such strong prescription drugs can't be provided to abusers without them being prescribed to either them or a supplier by a doctor. So that puts a lot of the responsibility upon the doctor's shoulders. The doctor must identify a potential abuser in someone who frequently asks for refills or switches doctors in very short amounts of time. Many abusers will switch doctors very quickly so that they can get a prescription from one doctor, get a prescription from another doctor, and so on and so forth, so that they can continue abusing or selling these drugs. This is what we call doctor shopping, which is a perversion that has to be shut down immediately. So now that we know what the doctor's part is, what can we as a community do? The answer to that is what I'm doing right now. Inform the public about prescription drug abuse and its consequences. In our story, the little boy knew that picking up the rattlesnake could backfire, but he ignored that idea and did what the rattlesnake said. Youths in our society know that taking these drugs could be bad for them, but of course they ignore that idea because they just want the temporary pleasure, like how the rattlesnake just wanted to see the sunset. By continuing to inform the youth and letting them know that taking these prescription drugs in obscene amounts can be as harmful, if not more harmful, than taking illegal drugs, we can hope to decrease the amount of abusers in America, and in turn, create a safer society in which future generations of young boys and girls will not heed the lure of the clever snake. Thank you.